It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Oh, such.
Six the time. Wake Up Wyoming, Thursday. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. I decided today would be the perfect day to start you in a really good mood. You're going to love this first story.
Today's show is sponsored by Do-It-Yourself Pet Taxidermy Kit.
Yeah.
You'll never have to say goodbye to Mr. Sprinkles again.
I don't want to do it myself, though. I mean, seriously.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. A while ago, I gave you this story, and these stories pop up from time to time. Always drives me nuts. I know it drives you nuts, too, about someone puts up an American flag, and they're told, you have to take that down. And it happened a few times at some high schools over the years. So just recently, a young man drove to school in his pickup truck, so I think he's a high school senior, and on the back of his pickup truck, he has a flagpole with a big American flag waving, and the principal comes out and says, you have to take that down. He said, no. And he was called in the principal's office a couple of times. You were told to take that down. Not happening. And then one day, pretty much every single vehicle in the high school parking lot driven by a student has a flag on it. And because of a lot of negative publicity, the principal said, all right, and he gave in. And tried to issue some kind of a notice saying, well, you know what was really going on here. Yeah, well, okay, this is one of those cases. Again, I would have gotten rid of the principal, too. He would be unemployed. But okay, let's step this up to what happened next, because this is great. There's a picture of his truck being pulled into a place that does vehicle wraps. I bet you already know where I'm going with this. A graphic design company reached out to the young man. Sorry you had to go through that. We'd like to do a favor for you. We're going to wrap your truck for free. And the truck is now all red, white, and blue. One big wrap. So the hood of the truck, and it looks like it's a flag that's in motion across the truck with a lot of streaks going on. So it's not a solid American flag color, but more like it's streaking across the truck. So the hood of the truck, the stars. On the doors, because it's a two-door truck, left and right side, about half the doors continue with the stars. And then the red and white stripes are the rest of the truck all the way to the back. So not only will he be showing up for school with his American flag flying on the back, his truck now is an American flag. And across the side of the truck is written, ban this. So whoever's that's just really going to drive. Let's see, I just said, Mellencamp. Okay. The author of this article says, I can hear the song from John Mellencamp, Ain't That America, as he drives in. And again, if the principal comes out, we can't have that here. It says right there on the side of the truck, ban this. It just made me feel so good. But I love the idea that people fight back against stuff like this and win. And it always bothers me, how can more people like this exist? One of the other stories I told you, it's one of my favorites. A young man was riding his bike to school, and because his uncle, and he just adores his uncle was in the military at the time, so this is a few years back, fighting in Afghanistan. And so that's why he chose to put the American flag on the back of his bike, and it's a full-size American flag as he would ride to school. just trying to show some support for his uncle who was over fighting in Afghanistan. Well, again, the school comes up. You got to take that off, young man. And they have all sorts of rules as to why, and it might upset some people, and we can't do that. And yeah, okay. So not only did he not take it down, other kids showed up with flags in their vehicles or bikes, but also a whole group of a bikers club on motorcycles escorted him to school, and every single motorcycle had big American flags on the back. So basically saying to the principal, hey, screw you. How about that? And so with the community outrage, once again, that was a case where the principal just backed down and said, all right, fine. But I still wonder, after a principal or other administrators act like this, how do they still have a job? Now, one of the worst, and this did not involve a flag. This was something different. There was a young man who was a Eagle Scout, straight A student. He was all the way through, good-looking young man, too. And I'm trying to remember, I think he played sports. And he had a scholarship because he was going to go to West Point. And he was looking at a military career. So in every single way, he's an outstanding man. And he's in his senior year, about to graduate, and there's nothing on his record that says anything bad. I mean, this is exactly what you would want. If you had a son, this is what you would want in every way. So one day he's called to the principal's office. Wonder what the hell that's all about. Like he ever does anything, right? So they call him to the principal's office. They ask, do you have a knife? Do you have a knife on you or on the school premises? Well, in the trunk of his car, which is in the parking lot, there's a first aid kit, and there's a little knife in there as part of the first aid kit. Oh, my God. Well, oh, dear Lord. They suspend him. They want to file charges against him. This actually happened. And, of course, that makes all the news. And there's a big fight between school administrators and him. In the end, the school administrators didn't get anywhere with that. And West Point said there is absolutely no blemish on his record because of this. You can just forget it. This is ridiculous. We're not going to look at it. So he was still allowed into West Point. No blemish on his record whatsoever. But I still have to, I never did find out what happened. I still would like to have a follow-up on the story. For the principal and the vice principal and other administrators who were going after that young man, whatever happened to them? Are they still employed? Because if I were in that community, I would make sure by the time it was all done, they didn't have a job anymore, because we can't have people like that running our schools. They need to be gone. We need good principals, good administrators, not that garbage. If that's what you have, get rid of them. And I think one of the things we need to do, as a lot of our schools are getting into this whole DEI thing, teaching that kind of garbage in our classrooms, where they want, instead of just teaching what they were hired to teach, the teachers and the administrators need to be in line with what the public said. You are here to teach this, not to indoctrinate our kids. And when schools are found indoctrinating, well, one of the things we need to do is get rid of those people. I'm glad the kid fought back in the first story that I told you with the flag, and he's going to have so much fun driving to school on Monday in his truck that is one big American flag now. And I love the idea of having it written on the side, ban this. That's great. And that's the way you fight back, too. That I don't care. I know these are supposed to be people in authority, and that's how you fight back against them.
I have a joke for you.
Okay.
The government is excellent and uses your tax dollars efficiently.
Take Glenn Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
6:22, it's the time to Wake Up Wyoming. So off to my sister in Lake Wales, Florida. I was just if you're just joining me, I was talking about the kid who was riding to school with a big American flag sticking up off of his pickup truck. He's a senior in high school. And the principal's that you can't do that and demands he takes it down. And he was called to the principal's office like 2 or 3 times, and each time he refused to do it. And by the time he got done with the school, pretty much every kid who drove to school was waving a flag off with their vehicle. And there was so much bad publicity, the school had to back off. Now, my sister's asking, I'd like to know where these flag rules are coming from. I can't blame the school principal if he's just trying to do what he's told to do. Are these schools saying the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning? Yeah. Now, for me, though, sister dear, if the principal's told these kids can't wear or fly a flag, I would, as principal, I would say, you can forget, I'm not enforcing that rule. There was a kid in, I think, Denver, I want to say. It was in Colorado. Pardon me. It was in Colorado anyway. And the kid was wearing on his backpack a big, it was something you would sew onto the backpack, a big patch. And it was the Don't Tread on Me flag. And he was told to quit wearing that because they thought, and I watched the video on this because the meeting was videoed, right? They thought at the school that the Don't Tread on Me flag was a symbol of racism from the Civil War. I'm thinking, this is the school. Don't they know that that's one of our original flags from the Revolution? It has nothing to do with the Civil War. Aren't they supposed to be teaching history there? Don't they know this? Well, anyway, the school backed off on that too. But it's in part because administrators go overboard. They don't want anything that they consider to be divisive in the school. Nobody can wear something that's going to upset somebody else. Really? Then why can a kid wear like a pride sticker, okay, but another kid can't wear an American flag or a Don't Tread on Me flag? How does that work? You can go ahead and put up a pride flag in the classroom, and that will upset some people. Other people will like it. But you're not going to ask them to take that now. But you'll ask them to take the American flag now. This is where I say, again, once you get into this kind of garbage, that's not someone who should be a principal of a school or a teacher or an administrator of any kind. If that's the way their brain works, then they're not good to be around kids. Don't allow them around kids. That's just not a good thing. All right. Another story. I'll get to the real news in a bit. I sometimes just like to put that aside. There is only one state left that doesn't allow you to eat roadkill.
At the Roadkill Cafe, we'll do it up your way. We'll cook it fresh right from your grill to ours. And just scrape it off the tire. We'll toss it on the fire. Come chew the fat at the Roadkill Cafe.
Here's the story. It says, before you judge, it's not entirely uncommon that someone would toss roadkill in their car on their way home. It wasn't uncommon, at least for members of this author's family, to do exactly that. Throw it in your freezer. It depends. How long has it been laying there? If it was just hit, go for it, right? He writes, my mom used to tell the story of how she came downstairs one morning to find this particular family member sawing away on a deer leg. Just needed to roast it. Well, the deer was killed on the way home. Might as well throw it in the back of the truck, take it home. It's all right. Now, that there was a time that was illegal in many places, but now I think the only state, I'm scrolling down here to find out which state it is and read more. Oklahoma, born with, okay. Texas, you can go ahead and do that. Well, I know Wyoming. There's an app in Wyoming that you can use. If you find roadkill and you want to know, should I take that home? They advise you, well, it depends what condition is it. You can take it home, but what condition is it in? So, according to the story that I'm reading here, there was so much deer, I'm pretty sure he wasn't hunting them, says this author. Let me see who this is. This is, okay, Rob Carroll's writing this. So, every state except one allows residents to take dead animals they find while out on the road. Before considering this, you should know each state has specific rules regarding which critters you can and can't toss in your trunk. Currently, this author lives in Illinois. The Department of Natural Resources does not have a limit on the amount of dead deer you can take home. They do, however, have guidelines on whether the deer can be claimed. So if you hit the deer with your car, it's yours. If you find the deer but didn't kill it, you have 24 hours to file a claim report. I don't know that many people actually file a report on something like that. Only rules. See, Illinois, as several other states, have rules like that. It just depends. Okay, so if you're going out to grab dinner, that's one way to do it. Let's see. You're not allowed to chase down the animal in most states. Okay. Don't even think about taking a deer home that you hit with your car in Texas, according to Texas Wildlife. You should call local game warden dispatcher before you go ahead and scrape it up off the ground. Okay, but it turns out there are 49 states, and I haven't yet found in the story which is the one that you can't. It's in here somewhere. There's 49 states that allow you to go ahead and scrape up roadkill and take it home. Go right ahead. You're fine. Wyoming, you're allowed. Like I said, there's an app for that. All right, coming up on local news, update on your weather forecast. You and I get back into it. Wake up, Wyoming.
Sunday.
Now, Glenn Woods fits in your pocket with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
I'm getting all sorts of messages from people, and everybody's guessing the same state, and this is gonna shock you. If you're just joining me, I was reading the story. Every state, you can go ahead and scrape roadkill, take it home and eat it. Every state except one. And as I was reading the story, I'm going, okay, fine, get to which state it is. Because the story was quite involved about scraping roadkill, but which state? Morning, Marcy. She's in Laramie. Corey is in Endicott, Nebraska. Several other people as well have chimed in. And everybody's saying, well, Hawaii, right? No, not Hawaii. You can go ahead and eat roadkill in Hawaii. Now, you're just not going to believe me, but Texas. Yeah, you're not allowed to scrape up and eat roadkill in Texas. That's what, no, I hear you already out there. That's what I said. What? Texas? There's plenty of other states that I kind of consider, well, you wouldn't be, why would you in that? But no, Texas. The hell's wrong, Texas? You need to change that law. Of all states, you need to be one where people can eat roadkill. And I guarantee you, people are eating roadkill in Texas. It's happening. I guarantee it's happening. But I just didn't expect it to be Texas. All right. Texas needs to change some laws. I was also surprised when I found out Texas has about the most wind turbines of any other state, and they're putting more in all the time. And really what it has to do with is people have their hands out for the government subsidy. That's why they're doing it. Well, stop doing it, Texas. Get off that. Texas needs to be a red state. I'm really worried about Texas sometimes. A couple of their cities are really blue. They need to be a red state. I know it's more and more difficult to do that, partly because so many illegals crossing the border can affect it, but also so many illegals escaping California. No, they're American citizens, but they're illegally escaping California. I'm waiting for California to build a wall to keep people in, like East Germany did. But at some point, they'll probably do that. But all right, they're escaping. They're going to places like Texas. And the answer is, once you get there, don't vote the way you were voting in California. That was the problem. Okay. Yeah, Texas has some issues there. All right. One other story I'll get to in a little more detail, but just to tease it for now. Homeless encampments are now banned in Florida. Well, in many states, especially those places that have nice big cities, Denver, you folks down in Colorado, you know about this. People will just go ahead and set up a camp in a park or on the street. Yeah. And Florida, the governor's saying, no, go somewhere else. Now, homeless advocates says, well, where do you want them to go? I don't know, that's your problem, but you're not camping here. Okay. Unauthorized public camping, House Bill 1365 is requiring the homeless to be housed in temporary shelters, et cetera, et cetera. It gives local residents and businesses the ability to bring a lawsuit against the city or county that allows unauthorized camping by people on public property, such as sidewalks and parks. The new law requires homeless shelters to provide drug and alcohol treatment. The State Department of Children and Families has to provide alternatives as well. Quote, Florida will not allow homeless encampments to intrude on its citizens or undermine their quality of life like we see in New York and California, said Governor DeSantis. The legislation I signed today upholds our commitment to law and order while also ensuring homeless individuals have resources to get back on their feet. So it really comes down to, you got a problem, okay, but you're not camping here. Find some other alternative. And the state of Florida is providing alternatives, by the way. Quote, in Florida, we learn from the mistakes of cities like San Francisco, Denver, and Los Angeles, and more, they're paying the price for their unwillingness to act. The bill will not eliminate homelessness, but it is a start. And also, quote, and it states clearly that Florida, our public spaces are worth fighting for. This status quo is not an option. In Florida, we choose to act. It's simply the right thing to do. So, okay, we'll see what happens now, because now that gives the authority to the police to show up and say, sorry, sir, you can't camp here. And if they say, where am I supposed to go? Well, we do have public places. There are facilities that'll take you in. Or you can go camp in the woods, but you're not camping here.
Why have they pickled every vegetable but not cucumbers?
We're not going to make it, are we?
Local and mobile across Wyoming and beyond with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
6:48 is the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go to talk to Frank Gambino. Folks, I'm going to bring Frank in on the conversation that we were just having. Out of all of the states out there, all 50 states, Frank, there's only one left that does not allow you to eat roadkill.
Just one.
Just one. Now, this what was really interesting. Can you guess the state?
Hawaii.
See, that's what everybody else was saying. Everybody was saying, I got all sorts of notes here. People going to Hawaii, right? No.
It's not?
It's not. You can eat roadkill in Hawaii.
I didn't even know there was anything living
they
in
have
Hawaii
stuff,
other than
they have
volcanoes.
critters. They don't have like deer or anything like that, but they have critters.
Okay.
And you can go ahead and eat those critters.
Iguanas or something.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
All right, my second guess is going to be Maine.
See, that would be logical, but no. The last state you would expect.
Texas?
Yeah, that's
No.
Texas. You're not allowed to eat roadkill in Texas.
Really?
Completely floored me when I read that. I thought of all of the states, Texas would have been the first to allow it.
Because there's so many miles of roads there.
Now, that doesn't mean it isn't happening.
Well, no, but
I mean, it's such a big state, there's no way they can enforce that. But is it legal? No, not in Texas.
No kidding.
What happened to Texas? I don't know. I mean, there are states where you would think, like you said, Hawaii, and then there's other states that would probably be just against it, just in principle alone, that you would think. But no, you can go right ahead and scrape it and throw it on your plate.
Wow.
Yeah.
So those roadside barbecue places you better think of twice about.
Yeah. See, there's a difference now. It depends on where they put the punctuation. Is it roadside barbecue or is it roadside barbecue? Because,
right.
Yeah. Or does it say roadkill barbecue for that matter?
You know what? And there may be some places that's exactly what they're named, just to get a rise out of people.
I'm sure
it's not really roadkill.
And I have played the Roadkill Cafe song on this program many times. So now this is where I got to remind you, Wyoming does have an app.
Okay.
So if you find something roadkill, they would like you to report it. And they would also like to advise you before you scrape it up. Because, look, if it just got hit, you're probably okay.
Yeah.
But there's signs as to whether did it die from some disease? Has it been laying there a while? You might want to check with them. That's what the state of Wyoming would prefer. So they have an app for that.
Right.
But Texas? I didn't see that.
No, I didn't see that either. Girls high school soccer from yesterday. Cheyenne East over Cheyenne Central 1-0. Now, tomorrow, the Kelly Walsh girls soccer team will be in the Southern Coast Cup tournament in Foley, Alabama, and they will take on Norman, Oklahoma. In boys high school soccer from yesterday, Cheyenne Central over Cheyenne East 3-0. Tomorrow, the Kelly Walsh boys, they'll be in that Southern Coast Cup in Foley, Alabama, and they'll take on Grissom, Alabama in the first round. High school track and field today, Kelly Walsh will have a 5-team meet starting at 11 this morning at the Harry Galdine Stadium. KWNC, Douglas, Glenrock, and Green River involved in that. There'll be 11 schools in today's Newcastle track meet, and the big one is in Cody, where 20 schools will compete in the Cody Invitational. The Trona County High School football player and wrestler Bo Russell has signed with Black Hill State University. He was All-State in 4A football as an at-large selection as a defensive back, and a two-time All-State wrestler, finishing twice in his career in the 4A state tournament. The NCAA basketball tournament moves along today with the first round. Now, yesterday in that first four deal, Boise State of the Mountain West Conference lost to Colorado 60-53. Now, today in the NCAA tournament, there are two Mountain West teams playing. Colorado State, as a 10th seed, will take on Texas at 4:50 this afternoon. In Charlotte, Nevada, a 10 seed. They will take on Dayton at 2:30 this afternoon in Salt Lake City. The rest of the games in the NCAA tournament today: Michigan State against Mississippi State. Duquesne will take on BYU. Creighton against Akron. Arizona versus Long Beach. North Carolina, a number one seed, will be Wagner. Illinois takes on Morehead State. South Carolina taking on Oregon. Kentucky will take on Oakland, and Gonzaga meets McNeese State. Iowa State meets South Dakota State. Tennessee tangles with St. Peter's. Texas Tech will take on North Carolina State. Kansas will meet Samford, and Drake, go Drake, will take on Washington State in the late game tonight. That's it in sports.
Sounds like you're a Drake fan.
I am a Drake graduate.
Well, that would explain it.
Yes.
Okay.
And we don't make the NCAA tournament very often. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, okay. So this is their big shot.
This is the best shot we have right now. We just don't get this far very often.
Okay. And why not, Frank?
Well, because we're not very good.
Okay.
Now, when I was in school, we were. I mean, we were a decent basketball team. We made it to the NIT. We played in a tough league in Missouri Valley at the time, but it's just they had some rough years. They were in it a few years ago, but prior to that, I mean, it had been like 30 before that. So,
okay,
miracles do exist.
Now, it brings me back to my high school. When I was going to my high school, pick a sport. They were going to state and winning.
Well, they were good at everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, but then the school is because the school was so big and had such a large pool to draw from. So then they decided to build some new schools and split us up.
Ah, there you and what happened?
Everything kind of tanked after that.
Yeah.
And it was quite a while before they started winning again. But at least while I was there, again, pick a sport, Frank. We were number one.
There you go.
All right. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. Hey, roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. Wake Up Wyoming. Six at a time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Thursday. I swear I can see the weekend from here. Some changes in the weather are going to happen during the course of the weekend. And I'll get Don Day on with us at 7:45 to explain all that to you.
Today's show is sponsored by Do-It-Yourself Pet Taxidermy Kit.
Ew.
You'll never have to say goodbye to Mr. Sprinkles again.
I just don't want to do it myself, is all I'm saying. Before I get on to the main story I had sort of queued up for you here, I don't understand certain algorithms that are out there. If you ever put something up, let's say on social media, Facebook, to name one, And a lot of times if it's a picture or meme, they'll blur it out and say, this is potentially offensive or misinformation or whatever it is. Now, if you want to click on it, if somebody wants to click on it and see it anyway, they can. But there's this big warning up there. And sometimes I look at these warnings and I think, Facebook, what are you thinking? But they're not thinking. This is all due to computer programs. It's an algorithm that Facebook built, but it's a computer program doing it. Same thing for YouTube and Google and stuff like that. They build these algorithms, which is one of the reasons I don't trust them, among many other reasons, when it comes to trying to weed out what they call misinformation. They're usually the purveyors of misinformation. I say all of this because early this morning, after I got done setting up the show, I like to go scanning through social media to find out what people are talking about. And there was a picture on Facebook that was blurred out. And it warned me that it's potentially violent content. Oh, violent. See, now, whenever Facebook blurs something out, it makes me want to go look at it. So thank you, Facebook. I may have just passed it by, but because you flagged it, now I have to stop and see it. So I click to look at it anyway. Now, it's a picture of a bunch of sheep. It's a black and white picture with a bunch of sheep. And written above it, my sheep hear my voice. And I know them, and they follow me. And I give unto them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. And then it names John 10:27 and through 28. It's a Bible verse. All right. How is that flagged and blurred out with a warning that it's violent? Okay, well, that's the Facebook algorithm for you. There's nobody there. It doesn't really know what it's doing. All right. All right. Next, speaking of nobody there and no one really knows what anybody's doing, let's go take a look at the federal government for a minute. Here's a headline. Says, BART Inspector General finds employees were clocking in, but nobody was showing up for work. Not surprising. In the most flagrant example of surveillance by BART police department found, and let's go back to see where they are. It's a public transportation service. Bay Area Rapid Transit is what this is called. Okay. So Bay Area Rapid Transit, the most flagrant example by the BART Police Department, found that technicians for the system collected improperly, clocked in for 106 hours across 18 days, totaling more than $9,000, falsely billed, but they were never actually there. They would clock in and then leave. Nobody was actually there because no one was there to supervise to make sure they were working. $9,000 is change when you're talking government money, but one earned about $253,000 total compensation in 2022 and around $140,000 in 2023, up to the date of that person's resignation. They had, including benefits and all of that, you can imagine that gets pretty expensive. This is a transportation system in California. No wonder, add this to the list of reasons why California is broke. In this case, the thief was referred to the DA's office, and a warrant has been issued for this person's arrest on felony charges. Two other individuals caught in similar time theft schemes confessed before police were notified. It's not clear from the story what's going to happen to that person. But, I mean, think about this. One case, the most egregious one, a BART employee, they found, salary, benefits, about $341,000, which is, by the way, to live in California is like chump change, right? Now, this is, once again, very typical of government trying to run business. Anybody can be defrauded, but it's very easy to fraud government. By the way, since I mentioned at the beginning of this, the federal level, there have been cases on the federal level in Washington, D.C., where employees were hired into the bureaucracy, of some agency. It could have been IRS or some other agency. And the employees don't show up ever, but still get paid. Or they do show up, but they don't actually do anything. They've been caught playing on their computer and so on. There was one case where a federal employee was at his desk every day, but all he ever did was, and I mean this literally, he looked at pornography all day long on his computer. It was many years before they ever caught this person. Okay, so back to California. The investigation found that one person would generally clock in near his work location, spent most of his shift away from his job site, and then go to the station near his home to clock out. Other times, he would clock in and out at the site near his home, regardless of whether he reported to work or not. So show up, clock in, then go do whatever. Enjoy the day. And nobody's checking to see if this person's at work at all. The all-time champ for this sort of fraud was a janitor who was making about $57,945 a year as a janitor. But in 2015, he earned about $162,000 in overtime paid. How does he manage it? Well, according to records, he worked between 8 and 17 hours every single day. Gosh. Earning all of that overtime pay. Wow, this guy he deserves some kind of an award. His supervisors actually defended him as a hard worker. But when the local news channel looked into video recordings, they found, again, he was not actually on the job doing anything. So his supervisors were saying, no, this guy's a hard worker. He's here every day. He works overtime. Well, we've watched the video surveillance cameras. He's not around. On the first day that two investigators logged this particular guy appearing to go to the closet twice for 54 minutes and 90 minutes respectively, I guess he's napping. The second day of the video, he spent 90 minutes in the closet that afternoon, another 78 minutes behind closed door later that evening. So at least he stayed on the job site anyway. But you get the idea. So whether we're talking federal employees, or in this case, California employees, you see how easy it is to take advantage of the system. And since the system is not really well monitored, how easy it is for your government to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars per person to get absolutely nothing done.
Why are you crying?
Because I don't want to be an adult.
You don't want to be an adult? I cry about that a lot too. Why don't you want to be an adult?
Because it's not fun. It's gonna be not fun. It's like a prison being an adult.
It is like a prison being an adult.
Come on, B. I don't want to be an adult. I don't even want to be a teenager. I just want to be a kid.
Me too. Can I be a kid?
No.
The best talk show host in the state, within his price range. Tune in to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays at 6.
7:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, I just said something by messenger to Miss Mary with a note that just says no, just absolutely not. It's something it's not around anymore as a product, but it shows a little bear that's also a bar of soap. And it says on there, made in the USA since 1965. Okay, so it's an old product. Fuzzy Wuzzy Bath Soap. The amazing soap that grows fur. Not just no, but hell no. Why the hell? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, your favorite song.
Well, I like guns, I like the way they look. I like the shiny steel and the polished wood. I don't care if they're big or small. If they're for sale, hell, I want them all. I like guns. I like guns. I like guns.
Gonna go once again to the state of California because they're so easy to pick on. California Democrats pushing a bill requiring guns to be registered annually with a fee. Well, anything they can do to raise the cost. They couldn't ban guns. So they tried to raise the cost of guns or raise the cost of ammunition. make ammunition so expensive and such a hassle to get that you wouldn't be able to use the gun. Right? On and on they go with this. All right. California Democrats are pushing to replace current one-time gun registration system with a once-a-year registration requirement, coupled with a fee to the state. Now remember, there's a rule I've had for a very long time. Everything is dangerous and immoral until you fill out the paperwork and give government money. Then all of a sudden, magically, all the problems just disappear. All right? So, the bill Democrats pledged to use to fund the state's gun registration system, they say. The bill will require the registrant to annually pay a fee specified to be deposited into a special fund that continuously appropriates to the department for the express purpose of carrying out the enforcement of firearm registry. So the registry would pay for itself, is what they're saying. The bill will also use to create a new program, focus on unregistered guns. This bill would prohibit possession of unregistered firearms, a violation of which would be punishable as an infraction. By creating a new infraction, this bill would impose a state-mandated local program. California is already rated number 1, the story says, for gun control by Mike Bloomberg, affiliated with Everytown for Gun Safety. So that means it's the worst possible place. The state has a 10-day waiting period for gun purchases, firearm registration requirements, a ban on being armed for self-defense on a college campus, ban on high-capacity magazines, ghost gun regulations, red flag laws, a gun storage requirement, micro-stamping requirement, and ammunition controls. And yet, they still have a lot of violence with guns in California. They've done all of this, and what was solved? Additionally, California has what they call an assault weapons ban. I say assault weapons, what they call an assault weapons ban, because they don't know what an assault weapon is. They have no idea what an assault weapon really is. So they banned the wrong thing. A universal background check for over 30 years, and it led the nation in active shooter incidents as well. So, despite everything that they've done, they've led the nation in active shooter incidents. Interesting how they do all of that, and you would think, with all of those laws, they would have solved as they say it, the gun violence problem. And yet it's one of the most dangerous states in the country for active shooters. So what exactly is being solved here and how? All right. Well, let's just go ahead and add another law to the mix of all of this with annual registration. So you're going to have to come back every single year and fill out the paperwork again and go through the background check again and pay the fee again, which will serve absolutely no purpose. But this goes back to, well, once again, in the state of California. Well, hang on a second now. Let me go back to what's it? There's the mom gun bit. Okay, terrorist-free zone, gunsplaining. Oh, there's so many good ones that I can go ahead and play for you.
So how many guns should a normal person have? About 5. That sounds like a gun enthusiast. No, gun enthusiasts have about 15. 15? That sounds like someone who's obsessed with guns. No, people who are obsessed with guns have hundreds. Now that sounds like a psycho. No, psychos seldom own guns, and if they do, it's 1 or 2. But 1 or 2 sound like a normal person. A normal person has about 5. We have already covered this.
Yeah, okay, this is how it works. But all right, they're just simply not going to solve the problem. They might pass this, but it's not going to solve the problem. Deborah in Cheyenne wants to talk about guns in California. Hello, Deborah.
Hello. I was actually going to talk about assault weapons.
Go ahead.
Are they going to ban thumbs and keys? Because I learned in boot camp how to assault somebody or defend myself with both keys and my thumbs.
Wow. Okay. So really, anything can be an assault weapon. I mean, I can go ahead and... Yeah, I can pick up, just like a block of cheddar cheese and use it to beat someone with it, and that would be an assault weapon.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, they misclassify it. So does that mean if I have a block of cheddar cheese at home that I have to have it registered as a weapon?
Sounds like it. Sounds like in California.
All right. Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate it. Let me build on that for a minute. So now think about it. One of my favorite villains in the comic books, he becomes a hero later, but is a guy named Bullseye. And Bullseye, his ability is if he picks up something and throws it at you, he's going to hit you with it. And he can even ricochet it around the room. Yeah, he doesn't miss. Anything he throws or shoots or whatever, he's on target. And what I love about this character is everything is a weapon to him. He doesn't need to carry weapons because if he walks into a room, everything in a room is a weapon. And he's beaten many people by, again, he walks in just not carrying any weapons, doesn't have any special powers other than everything in a room is a weapon to him. So if that's the case, and you want to call it an assault weapon, but of course what they mean is something that looks like an AR-15. That's what they think in California that an assault weapon is, which of course that's not what it is. Rhiannon in Fort Danger. So I can beat one dude using my 5-year-old. Is she in a... Well, no, actually, you don't actually have to pick up your 5-year-old and beat someone. You can just sick your 5-year-old in that person. Huh? Yeah, let's not go ahead and confuse the two here. You don't need to use your 5-year-old by picking them up by the legs, let's say, and throttling somebody else. Just go ahead and sick your 5-year-old on someone, and they're not going to survive it. I'm surprised you have. So, coming up on 7:30, local news coming your way right after local news update on your weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming.
Sunday.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97-WOODS. This is AM 1030, K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, so 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. I will have Don Day on in just a few minutes. Don Day is going to talk to us about changing weather. Today's not bad at all. And then tomorrow, as we get into the weekend, it's going to move in slowly depending on where you are, but he'll explain everything as we get to 7:45. All right, so just so you know, there's a new round of microaggressions that you have to worry about. And I have the story in front of me that... And this is from the young lady who does Libs of TikTok. Okay, so if you've never seen Libs of TikTok, it's on Twitter. And all she does, and I got to give her credit for her page, all she does is she goes ahead and plays a clip of what some, we're talking extremist liberal, I mean really extremist liberal, has said. And then she'll raise an eyebrow and say, but wait a minute. And ask a few questions and right away destroy their argument just by asking a few logical questions about it. It's actually a very good page. And I won't go into what all the microaggressions are. Just realize if you thought that you were being offensive now, wait till you see what's coming because every little thing that you do is offensive, okay? Just so you know. And if you don't do anything offensive, well, that doesn't matter. Your very existence is offensive. Anyway, just take a look at, have you looked in the mirror lately? I mean, that's all you need to know. I mean, obviously, you're microaggressing people, right? Jenkins?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jenkins, who are all these protesters out front?
They hate you, sir, because you're a rich, old, white guy.
I can't help that I got old.
No, sir.
I worked hard to build my fortune.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They hate me because I'm white?
Yes, sir.
But that's racist.
No, sir. It's only racism if you don't hate anyone but white people. It's okay to hate white people.
But that doesn't make any sense.
Sir, your privilege is showing.
I swear, the older I get, the more I forget to pull that up. Now, I haven't played the Jenkins in a Boss in quite a while. I haven't ridden one in quite a while. I was really on a roll there. And I have to go back to that. And I know you guys want Social Justice Warrior back, too. I think one of my favorite ones of Jenkins in a Boss was not my top favorite, but one of them, the toilet paper app.
Sir, I was just in the bathroom, man.
Jenkins, I've decided to take this workplace paperless.
Paperless, sir?
Yes, I think we're behind the times on this.
Well, yes, sir, but...
We're going green. I got to save the planet, you know.
Yes, sir.
And besides, with today's technology, using paper just slows everything down.
Yes, sir,
so
but...
why spend money on ink and paper, expensive copy machines, and when everything can be done with the click of a mouse?
Yes, sir, but
But what, Jenkins?
Sir, there's no toilet paper in the bathroom.
Right. Well, don't worry. There's an app for that.
An app, sir?
No, come on now, Jenkins. Get with the times. An app for your phone. See? Just touch the toilet paper app on my phone and...
On your phone, sir? But...
Well, you certainly can't use your iPad. I mean, that's a little big, don't you think? Especially, not so big for Mural down in accounting. Have you seen her big keister?
No, sir. I try not to look at her.
I can't use your laptop with the flip screen. That's just too big and awkward. And forget the desktop tower. Can't go dragging that down the hall now, can you?
No, sir. No, sir.
So the iPhone it has to be.
Sir, I'm not so sure I want to use...
Of course, for a little bud like yours, Jenkins, better get a Razor phone.
Right. Well, sir, if you'll excuse me, I need to go back to the bathroom and finish what I started.
So you do that. Oh, and Jenkins.
Yes, sir?
While you're heading that way, find out who's been picking leaves off of the plant down there. There's only 2 left.
2 left? That should just about do it.
Do what, Jenkins?
Not important, sir. I'll get right on it.
This public service announcement is just a reminder that going green has consequences.
Back to where I started with all of this. It was about microaggressions. Just so you know, I don't need to go through them all, and some of them I don't want to go through on the air, but there are new microaggressions coming down the pike, and if you thought that you were offending people before, well, wait till you see what's coming. I would suggest, don't worry about it anymore. You know, a lot of us are always trying to be polite, nice people. Since you are going to get in trouble no matter what, then don't be nice anymore. Just don't. Just go. No, I'm serious. Just don't even bother. I mean, the nicer you are, the more they take advantage of you, right? So don't even try to be nice anymore. Just be as offensive as you possibly can. Did you watch any of the Anchorman movies with Ron Burgundy? For those who know what I'm talking about, be Ron Burgundy. Intentionally. 742, wake up.
Wake up, Wyoming. Glenn Woods is live on AM 1030 K2 Radio and the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. So my way of putting what's going to happen with the weather is, imagine there's a cat sneaking up on a mouse. Okay, you're the mouse. That's what I look at for the next few days, Don.
Yeah, and it's going to be a little sneaky at first, especially up north. We've been talking about how Montana, northern Wyoming, and the Dakotas were going to start to get colder today and tomorrow, and that's certainly the case. Going to be snowing up there, much colder temperatures, but the cold air kind of gets stalled out. It gets into far northeastern Wyoming, kind of just sticks there. So the perception maybe for most folks in central and southern Wyoming and the central and southern Rockies is that, we're just continuing to have this nice weather, but that cat pouncing on the mouse is really going to happen late Saturday afternoon and Sunday and Monday because that cold air up there cuts loose and it heads south. And that's when things really start to change late Saturday into Sunday and Monday. Much colder temperatures will overspread the state. There'll be areas of rain and snow. There could even be some thunderstorms Saturday developing out ahead of that front. So things are going to really change as we get to the end of the weekend and early next week. Is this going to end up being a major snowstorm for Wyoming? Probably not, but it is going to produce light to moderate snow in some areas. Where it's really going to wallop places is the Dakotas, Minnesota, northeast Nebraska. They could see upwards of 2 feet of snow by early next week with the storm.
Well, and no offense to those people, but they need to be walloped.
Well, as we like to say, they need the moisture, but I think they would prefer it be in the form of rain. But it's going to be all snow.
So this could shut down those states for a while. How long is it going to stick over them?
Well, it's just not one storm. I mean, it's several. And that's the thing to point out is that over the course of the next 7 to 14 days, we've got the system coming in Sunday, Monday. We've got another strong system late next week. We've got another strong system coming in right around Easter Sunday or the day after. They're lined up. So there are many opportunities for the central and western United States to have some inclement weather as we go into the last week and a half of March.
Well, now, at the same time, though, it also hits some other parts. So most of the country is going to get something.
Yep, we're going to see another. We're going to see also a separate storm bring very heavy snow to New England, northern New England. We're going to have severe weather in the nation's midsection, thunderstorms, tornadoes, that type of thing. This time of year, when we transition, is when you can have some really crazy active weather, and that's really going to be the case coast to coast.
Okay, because I don't want these other people to miss out on all the fun we're going to have.
We will spread the wealth.
It sounds perfect. Thank you, Don. Don, day with day weather. All right. So you see, my little cat analogy was just absolutely perfect for that. It's just going to slowly come sneaking up on us. Frank Gambino is out there on location. Where are you, Frank?
I'm somewhere past Edgerton. I'm headed to Newcastle. I waved at the big bird.
Okay.
In Edgerton. You know, he's out there patrolling. So
yeah.
He's in good shape. And sunny skies. Doesn't look to be a lot of wind. And here we go before the snow comes.
Yep.
I need to be as many places as I can possibly be between now and Saturday before the weather gets cold and snowy. And
good
stuff.
plan. This is going to make you feel very much better. You're going to be guilt-free about something when I get done with you, Frank. Ready for this? Swearing, this is a new study. Psychologists were studied and show that swearing not only make you feel good, but it's just in general good for you.
Amen to that.
Okay. Yeah. Letting out just a whole torrent of profanities is not just a massive stress reliever mentally, but they say can be physically as well, and just makes you in general feel a whole lot better. Yeah, to let out all of those frustrations. Now, I wonder if this is the case, what they don't say here, do some swear words work better for this than other swear words?
Yes, they do. You know, it depends on the degree of how. Sometimes swear words can be used in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes they can be used in a bad way.
Okay.
You know, to describe bad things or describe good things.
There is one particular, as often known as the F-bomb, which fits every situation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Globally.
Yes, doesn't matter what's going on. In fact, it can be used, and I've heard this. Someone who's really upset has used the F-bomb as every single word in a sentence, and I knew exactly what he was saying. Yeah.
And you have to do it in different languages, too.
You certainly can, yeah, in different languages, sure. Oftentimes when I'm watching a movie and they're doing subtitles, they still put the F-bomb in. So it's pretty much a universal one, but that's the stress reliever, so that might be the biggest one. I would say, Frank, though, that they should add this to the study. To me, creative cussing. Don't just let words fly. Do it creatively. You know?
Yeah, put them in different order or something.
Different order now and then, too. And if you can do it in a way that makes other people laugh, then absolutely cool. But just so for those of you know, if you have now, just so you know, Frank, I don't cuss at all, because my first job, I watched a guy accidentally cuss on the air and get fired.
Yeah.
And so that cured me. I'm always afraid that I will do it. So I just got it out of my vocabulary, which means I am stress-filled. I need some relief. So as soon as we're done talking here, I'm going to go out back and just let her rip. Okay, Frank?
All righty, there's no cure for me, though. Girls high school soccer from yesterday, Cheyenne East over Cheyenne Central 1-0. And on the boys' side, Cheyenne Central beat Cheyenne East 3-0. Tomorrow, the Kelly Walsh teams out of Casper will be in the Southern Coast Cup in Foley, Alabama. The KW girls will take on Norman, Oklahoma, and the KW boys will meet Grissom, Alabama, in that tournament down south. In high school track and field, the Kelly Walsh Quad will be today at the Harry Galdine Stadium. The Trona, Kelly Walsh, Douglas, Glen Rock, and Green River will be involved in that. 11 in-state schools and a few out-of-state schools will be at the Laura Cord track meet in Newcastle starting later on this morning. And the big track meet is the Cody Invitational, where there'll be 20 teams from Wyoming competing in that event today. The men's NCAA basketball tournament cruised along yesterday with the last two games of the first four in Dayton. Boise State from the Mountain West Conference was eliminated by Colorado 60-53. Now, today's the first round of March Madness, and it's all day. There are two Mountain West Conference teams playing today. CSU, Colorado State, the 10th seed, is a 10 seed, will take on 7th seed at Texas at 4:50 tonight in Charlotte. Nevada, a 10 seed, will take on Dayton at 2:30 this afternoon in Salt Lake City. The rest of the games today, and they start this morning and go all the way to the late tonight. Michigan State versus Mississippi State. Duquesne out of Pittsburgh will take on BYU. Creighton will meet Akron. Arizona, a 2 seed, meeting Long Beach State. North Carolina, a 1 seed, taking on Wagner. Illinois will meet Morehead State. South Carolina will take on Oregon. Kentucky will play Oakland, Michigan. Gonzaga will take on McNeese State. Iowa State against South Dakota State in a 2-15 game, number 2 seed, number 15 seed. Tennessee will take on St. Peter's. Texas Tech meets North Carolina State. Kansas against Stanford. And go Drake. Drake is a 10 seed. They will meet Washington State in the late game that will start at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. And that's it in sports for right now.
Okay, so as you're heading out there, Frank, what does it look like? It ought to be a really nice day. I mean, any snow anywhere or at all? Or is it
No,
clear?
Nothing. It's dry as a bone here.
There's little hints.
Dry as a bone.
Really? Okay. Because in my yard at home, there's little hints of green starting to pop up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It has just barely begun, but not where you are right now.
Not quite yet.
They didn't get well, they got a dry winter up in that area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it might be well. All right, drive careful, Frank. Coming up on some, let me see here, Chet and Yoder. Oh, I've definitely used every cuss word in a single sentence. Yeah, Myron and Cheyenne. It's not a sin to swear when you're fixing your cars or herding cows. Yeah. And again, you can use the F-bomb as every word in a sentence, and people around you will know exactly what you said. I've heard it happen. I really have. Let's wake up, Wyoming. Time. It's Wake Up Wyoming, and sitting in the studio with me is Mike from Liberty's Place to You, who we haven't seen in a while. Mike, I guess you've just been busy with the legislative session?
We've been watching it, and I have Mike Ethorn with me today. He's part of our executive team, if you want to call it that. Mm-hmm. So we're getting ready to do a town hall. It's been a while since we've done one, so I wanted to let the people know.
Okay. So for those people who don't know, what is Liberty's Place for You?
Liberty's Place for You is a grassroots organization. Started almost 4 years ago. And our primary focus has been town halls. And I think this will be about our 13th in a little over 3 years. Our mission statement is to advance virtuous liberty in Natrona County and the state. So that's our job.
Have you been able to open up other branches besides the Natrona County one since you
started? No, we really haven't. But the grassroots thing, once we started, there's probably the last symposium we had, Mike, was what do we have from 10 counties?
Yes.
Something like that?
About 10 different counties,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's very organic. So we don't necessarily want to have Liberty's Place for You everywhere. Just the voice and the initiative. So there's at least 10 counties or more probably with similar grassroots organizations.
Okay, so what happens at the basic meeting? I suppose, of course, there's going to be like sacrifices made and incense burns and incantations or something like that. Right?
Well, after that.
After that, yeah.
We've invited all the Natrona County legislators for this session. And it'll be on April 4th at the Ag Resource Learning Center.
Okay.
On 2011 Fairground Road. A lot of people know it as the UW Natrona County Extension, but that's where it'll be from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on Thursday, April 4th.
What's the format? Do they speak and then questions, or do you just get to mill about and talk?
Well, the format is we invite the public. The legislators will ask them to introduce themselves, and then the format will be have the audience ask questions of each one of the legislators. You know, the average citizen probably doesn't follow all these bills like us, like we political guys.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity for them to listen to the legislators, and legislators can say what they did, what they wanted to do, and then the audience will get to ask their legislator why they did or why they didn't. So the format, and it'll be pretty organic. Mike and I will be the MCs.
Okay. Probably an important thing to do also for, and I find this happens a lot, let's say a legislator votes against a bill that many people locally wanted him to vote for. Well, why'd you vote against it? We'll listen to his explanation. Sometimes there's a pretty good explanation.
Exactly. And that's what we hope to do. We have no agenda other than give people an opportunity to ask those questions. So in 2 hours, we hope to cover as many topics. Now, there'll be people who will want to argue. We do try and give people some latitude, but the idea is to let them ask questions and, as you said, listen. I think they passed 25 pieces of legislation this last 67th legislature, so there's plenty to talk about.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Is there, besides the question and answer there, is there anything afterwards that happens where they can just get to know them more personally?
We encourage people, to kind of stay afterwards if the legislators are willing, and kind of the afterglow. Mm-hmm. So if people get there early, and then we'll have tables set up for the legislators. So far, it looks like we'll have maybe 14. Is that right, Mike?
Right, 14.
So Mike Ethorn and I will do the emceeing, and so usually we start out and just lay out some ground rules. Here's how we're going to do it. Be respectful. And we try and discourage people who get up. We take a mic to them. They don't ask a question. They just go on almost like they're running for office. So we try and discourage that.
Okay. So let's get them to the event. It's Liberty's Place for You. And the event's going to be April 4th.
April 4th.
And where are they going to?
They're going to the Ag Resource Learning Center.
Which is at the fairgrounds for those people who are in Natrona County.
Correct. 2011 Fairground Road. And it will be in the Casper Room. So we'll have seats for probably 150 people. We're not sure how many will come.
Okay. Starts at 6:30, goes to about 8:30 p.m.
Correct.
So I assume snacks will be available.
We'll probably bring drinks, coffee, iced tea. So we don't want the legislators putting on any girth. So we're going to...
Well, the rest of us probably could use a diet anyway. So do you guys have a website or a Facebook page, any social media like that where people can get in touch with you or follow you?
Both. Facebook page and if they'll go to Liberty's Place for You, Wyoming.com, they can go to our website.
Okay.
And Mike's kind of responsible for our Facebook page, right, Mike?
Yeah, okay. So again, got to get everybody there from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. This is going to be April 4th, and it's going to be at the Agricultural Learning Center. This is in Natrona County at the fairgrounds. And which room again?
The Casper room.
The Casper room.
Right.
Walk on in there. Okay. Gentlemen, thank you for coming in.
Glenn, and we appreciate you giving us some airtime. And I should keep a promise. Yeah. I told Mary I'd lobby for her new desk.
New desk. We're going to have to explain to everybody what that's all about. All right. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
News and weather together at the top and bottom of every hour. This is Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:18 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Sitting in the studio with me, Susan Burke. You know that voice.
Hello.
Hello. And Amy Fleming sitting next to her.
Hello.
And they're with the Central Wyoming Senior Services Center. Before we even get into what you're doing, what is that organization?
Well, most people know it as the Casper Senior Center.
Okay.
At the center, our mission statement, I'm going to read that.
Okay.
Our mission is to enrich the lives of individuals age 60 and older by providing community services and resources to maintain their dignity and independence. And what that means, and what I'm very passionate about, is we provide the services and needed daily activities of daily living, everything we need daily to help them maintain living in their homes so they can age in place versus being premature institutionalization. Not only do we provide a hot meal in the center that keeps them moving, keeps them active, we also have programs where we can go in their homes and help with housekeeping, meal prep, personal cares, all the things that seem to fall apart for our folks as they age. And this is tremendous impact on keeping them in their homes as long as possible.
Well, and as Susan, you and I have said many times before, we've had this conversation, you're retired. That means you're busier than ever before.
That's right.
Yeah, don't stop.
And that's extraordinarily important. That's why we have the center also where you can come socialize with all your friends, participate in exercises, craft classes, games, puzzles. We have billiards. We have all sorts of things going on. We have roughly a little over 40 activities that we offer to keep our older population moving once they retire, because as they say, a recliner is worse than cancer.
Oh my, it really is. And I've said many times before, I've watched growing up in Florida, people who retire and they think, oh wow, I want to play golf every day. That lasts about 6 months.
Right.
Next thing you know, they're fighting with their neighbors just for something to do. I've seen that happen. And then mentally they just start, and physically just start to fall apart because they don't have a purpose.
That's right.
So there's got to be stuff to do, and you got to continue to make friends.
You need to wake up every day and still get ready and still take care of yourself and go somewhere and still engage in life.
Right.
I have a few numbers. Last fiscal year, we served 32,018 meals to 2,821 unduplicated seniors within Natrona County. A lot of these people come every single day. Most of them do come every single day, Monday through, actually Sunday through Friday. We have right now we have about 120 clients where we go in their homes. Last year we provided 5,020 hours of in-home services. So we are very, very busy. We do quite a lot.
And we do have I'm on the board of directors there because I can't sit still, retired or not. And we do have two other sites. So we have a site in Mills and also a site in Evansville, besides the one in Casper. So it's pretty busy. And what we're finding too as a board is that trying to get people to sort of divest themselves of the thought is that the senior center is just for old people, because we are working on different activities. When we get new members in, we always quiz them. What would you like to see? We've talked about maybe rousting up some trips, day trips in places, walking clubs. It's not probably what you think when you think of as a senior center. And the cost to join, to become a member, is free. It's nothing. You just sign up. I found that out.
Yes.
So I don't need to have a walker with the tennis balls on the back.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Okay.
No, we hope to keep you off of that.
Good. Okay.
We want to get you when you're still,
Yes.
we want everybody, even the disabled, but we hope to keep you mobile. It's extraordinarily important for our health and longevity.
Well, if I can ask, how is all of this funded then, if it's free to join?
We rely on, we get state and federal grants that covers roughly 40% of our expenses.
Okay.
The rest of it are donations, fundraising, private grants. And we do, when you come and eat, it's a suggested, and I want to really press suggested donation of $6. However, it costs us roughly $15 to put out a meal.
Okay.
So.
Is that what Night at the Races is all about?
Yes, that is our main annual fundraiser, and this is the 4th annual Night at the Races, going to be held April 26th at the Ramkota Hotel. Doors open at 5:30, and we're going to try very hard to give a mental visual of what this is like. It's nice. It's not overly elegant, but it is tasteful. There's round tables. We sit down. It's a full plated dinner, and then there are bedding areas and an open cash bar, and we have local jockeys, and by that I mean, for instance, this year the mayor is one of our jockeys, and we have these jockeys, and we dress them up in their colors, and they're on stick horses. And
this is really hilarious.
It is
so
hilarious. There's 6 races, and there's 6 jockeys in each race, and they're up on a platform in the middle of the grand ballroom at the Ramkota, and we make a grid out of that. So they stand, and there's some other people that roll a dice and another dice with colors on it. So that corresponding color to the jockey moves that many on the dice.
Okay, so they don't actually have to run, because I'm trying to picture some of our local politicians running, and that's not happening.
No, but they really get into the spirit of the thing.
They do.
So, and everyone's got a funny name. Like I know that Cindy is Britney Spurs.
Yeah, you got to name the horses.
Yeah, and you can also buy a horse.
Okay.
We have 36 horses for sale. It's $100 to buy a horse, and if your horse comes in first, second, or third, win, place, show, you get a trophy, and you get your picture taken with the jockey with the roses behind you, because it's kind of a play off of the Kentucky Derby, the Run for the Roses. But you bet. It's important to know you can buy betting bucks, and then you can place bets on the horses, very much like going to a real track. There's odds and everything else. When you win, if your horse comes in first, second, or third, depending on if it's first, second, or third, you are paid back with raffle tickets that can enter to win numerous packages that we will have available.
Now, that usually means when you do something like this, there's like silent auctions and other things going on. Do you have that?
We have a 50-50 raffle.
Okay.
We have a couple of those, but there's no silent auction. It's just we'll have fantastic packages that are donated to us with wonderful, wonderful items. And there's a jar in front of them, and you put your raffle tickets that you win or buy into there to hopefully be drawn for that package.
And what's the Derby Hat Contest?
The Derby Hat Contest is also a play off the Kentucky Derby. Anybody that wants to wear a fancy Kentucky Derby hat, that like they often do at Churchill Downs, then we will have those that want to participate in the contest will stand up, and we parade them through, and then there's judges who vote on first, second, third best Derby hat.
Okay. And some of those are amazing. I mean, last year people were putting together the hats with the ribbons and the feathers and little tiny bottles of booze glued around it. And I mean, it's really fun.
Okay. We encourage Kentucky Derby dress. But you can come as you are, come as you like. But it is a great deal of fun. Okay. And we have an MC, and we play the horns before each race. And this year, the menu is chicken Florentine.
Okay.
With salad and dessert and all the fixins.
Okay, so let's get them there, because I know there's a bit of a price to get in the door, right?
Yes, $50 per person. Okay. That includes your dinner and, of course, a beverage such as water, and that gets you in the door and gets you a seat at a table. And then you can purchase betting bucks on top of that, so you can bet on the races.
Okay. So how do they get the tickets to do this? Where are they going?
They can come into the senior center, and purchase them directly from us. They can also go to our website, www.casperseniorcenter.com, and you can purchase tickets directly on our website.
Okay, so go to the website again, CasperSeniorCenter.com.
Correct.
Is where they go, and then also go into the Senior Center. But they need to do this before the event, though, right?
Yes.
You probably need to know how many meals they have to have.
Absolutely. We'll sell tickets at the door too. If, that we kind of need an idea, so we know how many meals the Ramcota needs to be. So we prefer that all tickets are purchased before the event, but if you have to purchase them at the door, at least call and let us know that you're going to.
Okay, April 26th is the event.
Doors open at 5:30.
5:30 p.m. Runs about how long?
It should go till probably 9:30.
Okay, so you don't want to stay too long because you're talking about a bunch of seniors here. People are going to start falling asleep.
We encourage the entire public to come and support us in our endeavors. As most any organization know, expenses have went up tremendously.
I
for
can
us.
imagine.
The price of
Whereas our state federal grants have actually went down a bit, and getting fundraising is getting harder and harder, and private grants are getting harder and harder.
Okay, so again, website is
www.casperseniorcenter.com.
And we have a Facebook page as well.
Okay,
Yes.
a Facebook page. But if you don't do that whole interweb thing all the kids are talking about, it's a passing fad, I'm sure it is.
I'm sure.
Then just stop by the Senior Center and go ahead and pick up what you need. And
if you give us a call, there's any number of us that will have tickets on our person if we needed to come to you.
All right, ladies, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. News time after that. Update on your weather forecast. Nice long segment of open phones. Wake Up Wyoming.
Sunday. When you need to know quicker than the morning paper or the 5 o'clock news, you need Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Mornings on K2 Radio.
$8:36 the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Let's get back into it. 888-97 Woods the phone number. It is open phones now. So that's 888-97-WOODS. And just so you know, open phones is, arguably, I'd say, the most dangerous time on this radio program.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. Imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave. All right, strap in and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject, fine by me. As you know, I've been advocating for quite a while when it comes to the University of Wyoming and other universities across the country, get rid of your Department of Equity and Inclusion. And get rid of classes that teach that kind of stuff too, but mainly the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And the reason why is these departments have been more detrimental to not just universities, but businesses and government across the nation. And it has nothing to do with someone getting an education. These universities have survived for very long periods of time without any such thing. We don't suddenly need them. Well, here in the state of Wyoming, this past legislative session, there was talk and legislation to just get rid of that department. And it showed a pretty good chance of happening, and then it didn't. Well, okay. Now, I got to be careful reading this story because it's from WildFile. And every once in a while, WildFile does some articles that can be, on the one hand, really good. I'm really impressed at times. But other times, man, are they biased. Hardcore. So I always have to be careful reading them. Here's the headline. UW grapples with uncertain future of diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus. All right, so conservative politicians, the story reads, across the country have taken up arms against the specter of wokeness in recent years. Well, that's true. Wyoming lawmakers are no exception. Republican legislators in the equality state rode the wave of this pushback during a recent budget session, bringing bills and budget amendments that aim to bar the use of state funds for gender-affirming care, define gender on base of chromosomes and what a person's reproductive system has developed to produce, and criminalizing gender-affirming care for minors, and defund the University of Wyoming's gender studies programs. Now, my thought, when it comes to a gender studies program, it shouldn't be funded by the taxpayer. If a student wants to pay for classes like that, go ahead. And if not enough people purchase the class, then shut it down. But tax money should not go to it, right? All right, most measures failed, the story says. But lawmakers managed to pass a budget item that targets, in the eyes of the far right, a particularly irksome movement, diversity, equity, and inclusion programming that some Republicans say is responsible for the leftward drift of college campi. So the University of Wyoming, the story says, Board of Trustees will mull the uncertain future of the school's DEI program at its meeting on Thursday. Now, again, just so you know, where I part a little bit is specifically the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Get rid of whoever it is in charge of that office, get rid of that person, close down the office itself, and any employees. Shut it down. And again, the classes can exist, just don't fund them by government. Story says lawmakers' recent passage of a budget item targeting funds for these resources stirred uncertainty, though nothing is set in stone until Governor Mark Gordon signs off. The topic is on his agenda for 1 p.m. Trustees aren't the only ones interested in the future of DEI measures at UW. An email obtained by Wildfile and distributed among the faculty highlighted the DEI agenda items and shared information as to how to attend or listen to the meeting. As the state's sole four-year university, UW often finds itself under legislative microscope. That's because even more so the case in recent years, as conservative lawmakers and politicians in Wyoming and nationally have increasingly scrutinized a variety of special issues, particularly surrounding race, gender identity, and sexual orientation. So UW's Office of DEI has become the lawmakers' most recent target. The office, now, here's where I say this has not been around all that long. We don't suddenly need it. The story says the office was established in 2017 and aims to make UW a place where people of various backgrounds and encounters are in a welcoming environment, more inclusively. Now, see, the problem I have there is these offices of DEI do exactly the opposite of that. We had this worked out. It was pretty good. Dr. Martin Luther King had it right. You judge a person by the content of their character. Well, okay. The fairness and steadfast values of the office, 2017 to 2022, strategic plan. To this end, provides educational opportunities and diversity workshops, supports the recruitment and retention of diverse students, faculty, and staff, and facilitates an inclusive campus community through partnerships. See, all of this sounds really great, but again, that's not what they do. They even oftentimes create the many different problems that they claim to be solving. Legislators in both houses, and House and Senate, the story says, brought budget amendments this year to bar the school from using state aid or endowments in matching funds, the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, or upon any diversity, equity, or inclusion program, activity, or function. Lawmakers defended the DEI office, arguing that it provides important resources, for example, first-generation students and others who are adjusting to life at the university. Well, again, universities have been around for how long? Yeah, very long. Even UW has been around for how long? And we've never needed an office like this. We handled it just fine. All right. Meanwhile, those who support the budget amendment said the school's DEI program, contrary to its labeling, promotes division, exclusion, and intolerance. And I agree with that. And that's Senate Majority Floor Leader Larry Hicks, Republican Bags, described it, and I agree with him. In addition to the budget amendments targeting DEI office funding, lawmakers in the House and Senate brought forward proposals to defund the school's gender and women's studies programs. I'll go back and say it again. Go ahead and have those classes if you want. Just pay for it out of your own pocket, not the taxpayers' pockets. In the final negotiations, a group of lawmakers agreed to kill the proposal to defund the school's gender study programs while retaining other restrictions for and funds for the DEI office and resources. The House and Senate approved the final budget narrowly in the chamber on last Tuesday's session. So the office currently has 2 full-time employees and 1 part-time student. And they didn't specify as to these positions would be at risk or not. Regardless of the position, determination has not been made, they say. The office 2024 physical budget is $865,000. A chunk of the budget, $139,000, pays for the office, which provides, it talks about what the office is supposed to be tasked with doing. But I look at this as, hey, UW, would you like to save $865,000? Just close down that office. Just go ahead and close down that office. Because, again, UW survived for a very long time without it and did just fine. And I'll agree with the gentleman from Bags. It's actually creating the very problem that they claim they're there to solve. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
We might have a little bit of a problem here. Trying to get a hold of Frank Gambino now. He's on the road at the moment. He's trying to get to sporting events over there in eastern Wyoming. And if he's out there, he's either at the event covering it, which we might be able to get him on the phone, or he's trying to get there. And, sometimes there's these spots where there's just no answer to that. Yeah, the nerve, says Miss Mary. Well, he might actually, maybe he has to pull over first, or he might be in a dead spot, or he just quit his job. I don't know. It could be any one of those things, but I know, just give it another shot if you would, Miss Mary. And, yeah, I think he's probably out of a service area right now. But if we're able to get him at some point, that'd be pretty cool. So, as we're heading into springtime, and, yeah, first day of spring, what was that, Tuesday? I think it was. Okay, so with that in mind, we are going to start seeing flowers popping up. Things are going to be green, except for you folks who are in northeastern Wyoming, or even just parts of eastern Wyoming, where you didn't get as much winter as everybody else. And you heard Don Day's forecast. There's some good winter weather, several waves of it coming through as we get through the weekend and into next week. So that's going to change things, but that's this time of year. It's very unsettled weather. I put together a little guide a while ago on Wyoming flowers. Because when things finally do bloom in Wyoming, it's really interesting to see. And I, having not grown up in Wyoming, I'm looking around at, well, what's this? Well, what's that? And I realized I had no idea other than, wow, isn't that a pretty purple flower? But I don't know what that is. I don't know what it's called. I don't know anything about the flower. So I thought I could do a post on this for the Wake Up Wyoming site. And I can do this one of two ways. On the one hand, I can go ahead and do a post where I actually look up the names of these flowers and give you real information about it. Or I could just make it up. Now, which sounds more fun? Right. So if you go to the Wake Up Wyoming site, if you have the Wake Up Wyoming app at some point, Miss Mary will alert this out to you. But I went ahead and just made up a guide to Wyoming spring flowers. Now, the first one, it kind of comes on a big bush, and these are clusters of purple flowers, which I gave it a very scientific name of scrubby purple brushy stuff. The color is pretty, but the bush and flowers don't grow in the organized way that humans like to see. Therefore, is considered to be a messy roommate of nature. You know, when you have a roommate and they're a slob? Yeah, okay. Basically, that's it. Also, then on more to the ground, closer to the ground, is the purple flower clump. Now, these are not individual flowers. This is still sort of a bushy thing. It's a purple something or other that my neighbor planted, and I'm going to go with that as an official name, purple flower clump. From the fake Latin clumpius purpurus, meaning this stuff that grows in a big purple clump that my neighbor planted. See how I'm going with this? Okay. So you can go ahead and learn all of this stuff if you want. And by the way, there's apps for this. I found out you can download an app on your phone, walk up to a plant, take a picture of it, and it'll tell you what you're looking at. Scary, right? Okay, next one. This is a tree that when it first starts to, not in the fall, when it first starts to get its leaves, it's red. Reddish tree flower. Or that, well, it's reddish, right? Because it's not total red. It's a really dark red. Or is it kind of purplish? I'm afraid to ask. I'm not colorblind. I can't decide which one it is. Now, of course, what I really love to see, there's these big, now some people might call them dogwoods. I don't know. But those trees that get the big off-white flowers that smell really good, they're really big trees, and they're just jam-packed with flowers. Okay, that's the white, fluffy, smell-good tree. I have no idea what the flowers are called, but it really smells good. Now, on the ground, dandelions. I know what a dandelion looks like. There, that's about it. There's a few others there in my list, but rather than trying to figure out what they are, why bother? Because actually doing research on this would have taken a lot of work, and I didn't want to do the work. It's just much easier and much more fun just to make it up, so that's what I did. All right, coming up on local news, update on the weather forecast. And then after that, it's a whole hour of open phones. Wake Up Wyoming. 9:06 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Thursday. I swear I can see the weekend from here. Phone lines are open. So 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about, change the subject. I'll just kind of roll with it.
Today's show is sponsored by Do-It-Yourself Pet Taxidermy Kit. You'll never have to say goodbye to Mr. Sprinkles again.
Not really something I want to do to my favorite pet by myself, I swear.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
And heading over to Laramie to talk to Greg. How you been, Greg?
I've been good. I've recovered from my Florida trip.
Okay.
Lots of shelling, lots of sickness, as it was a super spreader event, but I'm recovered.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. But, I mean, the main thing is to get out into the sand. And did you get some really cool shells?
I did, but I didn't have the right tool. The amount of different dippers and scrapers.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of professional women out there, and they're out there early.
Yes.
Early.
Oh, yeah. My sister and I,
great.
when we went back to Sanibel, we were at Lighthouse Point. You remember where our island's recovering from that last hurricane. And, of course, we still...
it's covered in a shroud now.
Oh, yeah, well, we couldn't help ourselves. We started shelling again. Now, we've been there since we were little kids. And to this day, we still shell. So it never goes away.
No, and I really like it. Again, I'm getting old. I like watching birds. One of the ding darling, and it was fantastic. I'll just tell you, it was fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I worked on a few boats, helped my friends out.
Okay.
I'll just say, I go to the University of Wyoming a lot.
Yeah.
I've never seen Larry Hicks, the bag man from Bags, there.
Mm-hmm.
Nor have I seen you. And so, this is a different generation of people, and a lot of different people come in from all over the world to come to the University of Wyoming. So I know you have a negative view of the DEI office, but I don't see them changing the character of the Wyoming people.
Right.
Again, most of the union is used by religious groups. Again, there's a lot of people that come from other. I just don't understand.
Okay, I'll give you one.
Never been involved with DEI.
I'll give you one example. A while back, and this is University of Wyoming. University of Wyoming wanted to put out a commercial, which at first I thought, what? And then I watched the commercial and thought, oh, it's really good. And it was one of those television commercials that will play during a football game about the university to encourage people to go to that university. And the commercial's theme was, the world needs more cowboys. And then it talked about the cowboy code of being a hardworking person with goals and, good manners and et cetera, et cetera. And I really thought it was a great commercial and summed up what University of Wyoming is all about. The Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion at UW wanted the commercials pulled because cowboys is all about, like white supremacy and killing minorities. And so we just can't have that. That's a horrible view of Wyoming. And that was the first clue that I knew. I didn't even know we had that office there. And the first time I hear about them, they're putting down cowboys and completely misrepresenting them.
Well, again, everybody's going to have an opinion, and that's what you go to a university for, to get exposure to things that you haven't been exposed to.
Yes.
And so when somebody takes a microscope without actually showing up and being exposed to those classes, like the bag man from Bags,
right.
I find it ludicrous and really antithetical to...
I understand what you're saying, but here's where we disagree. Not only have I found DEI programs, not just stories that I've heard from UW, but other universities as well. In fact, there's a few members of our Wyoming Senate who graduated from Harvard University. And they said Harvard was a great place until they got a DEI office in there. And dear God, what they teach those kids now. But the other part of this also is...
How does he know?
Because he's an alumni.
Chuck sits up there at his ranch.
Not Chuck. Chuck did not go to Harvard. I'm talking about two members of the Wyoming Senate that are alumni of Harvard.
Well,
yeah, okay. So
Cyrus
now,
Western
but
is not running again.
That's just one of no. They're just of many examples that I've given on air from across the country of how these offices are really just horrible. But the next thing is, as someone who has run a business, I can tell you, if you really want to run a business successfully, you close down things that really don't serve any purpose at all. Trust me, you can close down the DEI office and nothing about UW would change. Nobody would really care that they were gone.
Well, I'd find that not true, as I walk by that office a lot and I interact with the Turning Point USA people all the way to the DEI. And you need a diverse exposure in order to be a well-rounded
But we have that without the Office of DEI. We've had that for generations without the Office of DEI, and it's just because people show up from all sorts of diverse backgrounds, and they're just there.
There's more and more people from diverse backgrounds.
Good.
Both you and I know the college students they're sending today have been pampered a lot more than they should have.
Yeah. I think we can have
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, we can have the diversity without the office.
Okay, they'll just change the name. Big deal.
No,
I mean,
close
it
the
still
office.
does a
They
lot
just
of
don't.
good stuff.
We're spending over $800,000 a year on an office that, if you got rid of, would make seriously people wouldn't care that it was gone. So just close it down.
The bag
then.
man from Bags wants to spend $10 million for a shooting complex.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
I don't want him to do that either. And the gentleman that, in fact, I had a chance to talk with him, that he wants a shooting complex, and I told him, I love the idea of a professional shooting complex of Olympic level here in the state of Wyoming. Who's going to pay for it? And he said, mostly the taxpayers. And I said, in that case, I hate it, because it should be done with private money.
Well, the bag man from Bags, all he wants is that shooting complex.
Yes, I understand.
And a big bowl of water to feed his cow.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's it.
Yeah. So, hey, that's another rare thing that you and I agree on. If he wants to do this privately, then let him do it privately. Now, as far as the classes that have to do with all sorts of different gender studies and stuff like that, my thought is, why is the public funding those classes? If students want to take those classes, they can pay out of their own pocket, and that's what funds the classes. And that should be the way for all the classes at UW. If not enough people show up, shut the class down.
Well, I'm not quite. I'm again, art education. There's a lot of things that make a well-rounded person, and if you come from a different background and want to get exposed to those things, I say more power to the state, because it makes a person decide. I mean, I just think that's what college is for.
Greg, I am a very well-rounded person, and as I get older, unfortunately, I've been getting rounder, and it's harder to keep it off. But my well-roundedness did not come from me taking classes in college. I found out that on my own, I can study whatever I want, whenever I want. I don't need a damn university to do it. So go get your degree in whatever profession you choose. Get your degree in that. And then on your own, without a university, look at, Greg, so many things are available to you today to study right from the privacy of your own home with today's internet. So go get an education.
Glenn, you and I are in the same agreement, but when you're fresh out of high school, you need some guidance in finding some of these ways.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, you're exactly right.
Okay.
I have a doctorate from Harvard, just like you do.
Yeah.
And
I
because
don't.
we studied life.
Yeah. Oh, I have a doctorate from the School of Life.
Basket,
But here's
use that stainless steel basket to get the shell.
But you see, the other problem is, not only is this going to cost, or it always does every single year, cost the Wyoming taxpayers a whole lot of money to keep funding things like this at UW, but this is another reason why students leave universities today so heavily in debt, because of all of these extra courses that they're told that they have to take, which has nothing to do with their chosen profession. Let's reduce the bill for these young people. Let's not put them in debt.
They're all elective courses. Chris Rothfuss, who, if he was missing from the state would probably not run, because there's only a certain amount of people that get elected to the legislature to actually understand how the state should run.
But why are elective courses mandatory?
They're elective. None of these courses are mandatory.
No. See, I was told when I went to college, you have to take this number of elected courses, and I thought they were elective. Why do I have to take them?
Well, again, to make you a well-rounded person.
I can do that on my own. I don't need to run up my bill.
Actually, most people won't do it on their own. Matter of fact, I don't consider a business degree or an economics degree a real college degree.
Right. But you see, again,
I learned everything I need to know.
If they want to take those courses,
friendly ice cream.
If they want to take those courses, great. But I have found that a lot of those courses are mandatory, even though they call them elective, and that runs up the hell out of the bill. So let them become a well-rounded person on their own, and if they choose not to, that's their mistake.
It's a society's mistake, because once you stovepipe people,
but let's take. And here's what I'll wrap it up. I'm going to give you something to think about. When you take a look at the garbage, I mean the indoctrination and garbage that's coming out of major universities today from around the country, I would rather that they not be well-rounded in that way.
I don't see indoctrination.
Then Greg, You need to go educate yourself to be well-rounded because, by God, is it happening.
I go up to the university all the time, and I talk to these kids all the time.
I report it on the air every single day. I am constantly talking about it and reporting what happens on university campi all over the country, and it's horrible, Greg.
I go up to the University of Wyoming, and I'll just say this. The trustees having a meeting during March Madness was one of the dumbest things to do.
Do you remember a little while ago, there was a conservative group on the university campus, and I'm forgetting which name of the group it was, but they wanted to bring on Dennis Prager from Prager University, and the backlash that caused?
Again, why should our tax dollars pay for Dennis Prager?
It shouldn't. But that's not the point. They were protesting the fact that Dennis Prager wanted to show up and just have an open discussion with students, and that caused outrage and protest. And that's what you're getting on universities today, when you should have people who want to show up, even if they disagree with them, because it's open free speech.
The right-wingers protest too. There's equal protest.
But there's a difference though. There's a difference.
There absolutely is.
The right wingers will show up and protest, but the left wingers, the students, have been taught to shut down free speech. They shout people down so they can't speak.
Well, rudeness is something that people come to college with, and it needs to be tempered on.
Okay, Greg, I think you don't know what I'm talking about, and I think you need to go expose yourself to it.
I've been to all these. I go up there.
I don't think you know what I'm talking about, Greg. There are people at universities around the country that showed up. Stand-up comedians don't even show up at universities. They can't because they get shouted down and they're not allowed to speak and they get run out. And they were taught that by their college professors.
College professors do way more self-censoring today than they did in the 60s.
Wrong.
None of these.
Absolutely not. Okay, Greg, you are way out of touch on this topic. I got to run. Go educate yourself. You are way out of touch on this topic.
Take Glenn anywhere with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
9:26 the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Had a real good conversation going with Greg, but sorry, Greg, I had to let you go because we were really pushing that clock back. You got a lot of comments as usual from Grandpa Rich. Where do these people come from? Not knowing what is happening at colleges and universities. Kent and Cheyenne, Corey in Nebraska commenting too. And I think with all of the comments here, Greg, I'm just going to be really, if you're still listening, just very clear with you. If you're still watching it, I don't know. Turn off MSNBC, okay, and go out there and go get some real information because I am constantly covering real news stories of people from all over the country. There is the, I'm trying to remember which 10th Circuit Court, I think it is. It's the U.S. court, that federal court that's right below the Supreme Court. And one of the judges showed up at a university just to talk about the relationship between his court, the second highest court, and the highest court. And this was meant for law students to attend. And because he was a judge of a high court, a lot of things were assumed about him that weren't true. And all sorts of students showed up and started screaming and yelling, and he couldn't even speak. They eventually canceled. And there's many other universities where speakers are canceled because their opinion, which isn't anything all that bad, but it's supposed to be offensive, and their opinion is violence, and therefore we have to cancel that speaker. And these are left-wingers, some of these protests have turned violent. That's why I said comedians don't even show up on campus anymore. It used to be if you're at college, you can expect a comedian to show up at some point, because comedians loved the college campus atmosphere to do their routine. And to do it in the auditorium and so on, right? Don't do that anymore. They won't show up anymore. It's very difficult to find a university because of all the wokeness, and it's really bad. Free speech at major college, universities across the country. I mean, horrible. Horrible. And it's what they're taught by the college. It's indoctrination. And if you're not aware of it, Greg, then you really haven't been following the news. It has become a major issue in this country, and something that I talk about on this program, but other programs, not just talk radio, but all across the country. A major concern is how hardcore left-wing and just anti-free speech and sometimes even violent, dangerous it's become on college campi across the country. And usually, in fact, in the vast majority of cases, it's the college professors and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office that's pushing this on these young skullful of mush that are easily manipulated at that age. Lee and Laramie, I'll talk to about what you just said in just a moment. We got to get through news time. Update on your weather forecast. Wake up, Wyoming.
Download the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Listen anywhere and chat live with Glenn during the show on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. See, Lee and Laramie. Hi, Glenn. I totally disagree with what Greg was saying. I've encountered very self-centered students. I think I owe them an education. There's quite a few other comments here. I'm not going to be able to get them all, but let's see. Randy in Fort Collins, DEI, diversity, envy, and indifference. Well, and I've noticed over the years, it was one thing when universities started working on more of a liberal education for students, but then they started radicalizing them. And this has happened at universities all over the country, which is one of the reasons you hear me talk about it. And it's not just me talking about, I'm not talking about something that isn't happening. I'm going by what's being reported. And here again, if you only confine yourself to just a few small news sources, you don't see it. Every single day, I show up here at work, and you would not believe the amount of news that I sort through, from local to national, different sources, left, right, and in different sources, whatever the case is. I mean, all of them. And this is where I get so much information from. Because if I did just expose myself to a narrow point of view, sorry, Greg, but I would end up like you, not even knowing what was going on at today's universities, not even knowing how bad it's gotten. But even then, let's take a look at our public schools. Across the country, more and more people are pushing for the idea of school vouchers, which I'm in favor of. At first, it was just because public schools were not the best. There were better schools out there. But now even our public schools have gotten into trying to radicalize students toward a certain very far left-leaning agenda, which to me, when I first started to see this, I thought, you got to be kidding. It's one thing when public schools were not all that good, but then they started to try to radicalize and teach things, an agenda, a certain point of view and agenda. And if you try to stop that agenda, dear Lord, oh my God, the pushback. And again, I've been reporting on that for years on the air, and it's not just me talking. I'm going to get the information from what exactly is happening in communities across America, which is why more and more parents have had enough and want to take their kids to private schools or charter schools or even homeschool. And so public schools are starting to have a problem with a disappearing student base because of radicalization at schools at every level, from kindergarten all the way up. And then they get to college, and once again, here are universities working to radicalize rather than just educate. Now, what a university should be, let's say you wanted to be a lawyer or a doctor or some kind of a businessman. There's a specific line of work that you want to be. You pick your line of work, what kind of business. This is what you want to do. And so you go to the university and say, my goal is this. And the university should say, well, in order to do that, you're going to need the following education. And they will line up coursework that will lead toward what the student needs in order to pursue that profession. That's what a university should be, whether it's in science or art or entertainment or whatever it might be. But that's very little of what happens at universities these days. Most students end up paying for courses that have nothing to do with their degree. And again, if you don't think they're being radicalized, then you haven't been really watching what's happening out there. Your view on what's happening in the world is extremely narrow. And I would invite you to go look for other news sources other than the few that you've been watching. Go expose yourself to other news sources. And go take a look at what actually is happening at universities and public schools across the country, to name just a few things. Because Greg had seemed to have no idea that this was happening. Didn't seem to believe it. If I were to show it to him by video, I think he'd be really shocked to find out how bad it's gotten out there. Which is why I often say to people, be very careful when you go to send your student to your kid. If you have a kid, you're going to send your kid to a university. Take a real good look at what they're teaching kids. I mean, really, take a good look. Are they really there to educate the kid, or are they radicalizing the kid? And so, Greg, when you talk about, well, and I've heard people say this before, but a young person needs to be well-rounded. Again, fine. If you want to encourage them, then they can go do it themselves. If they don't, that's their fault. What they don't need is to be radicalized by a bunch of leftist college professors, which is happening all over the country. And some of the greatest universities out there, I mean, Harvard University was at one time one of the greatest universities on the planet. And I don't have a lot of respect for them right now because of this. I honestly do. I really don't. I just don't. Because of the way they've been radicalizing students rather than educating students. So it's not worth the amount of money to go to schools like that right now because of what they do to your kid. The kid's at an age when it's easy to influence them at that young age. And these universities and these radical professors take full advantage of that. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Corey from Nebraska, Antifa, yeah, that's another one of them. Yeah, that's one of many things that's being taught in a very radical way. If you don't know about it, then you have not been really, really watching what's been happening out there, and I'd invite you to do it. 70s Boomer and Casper, Cowboy Yates in Houston is a great story of a young, well-rounded man. He's not afraid of getting her done. So thank you for sharing that wonderful story the other day. Yeah, absolutely. 9:42 is the time. Wake up.
Got something to say? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
.948 is the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Frank Gambino. Where are you at, Frank?
We are in Newcastle, Wyoming, home of the Dogies.
Okay. So
Not
now,
the doggies, the Dogies.
The Dogie. What's the difference between a doggy and a Dogie?
A Dogie is someone kind of like wrestles cattle.
Oh, okay. But then a doggy, of course, is like a puppy.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Puppy, yeah.
Okay.
But Dogie wrestles steers and stuff like that.
That's just much bigger.
Much bigger.
I'll wrestle the puppy. I think I can win that one.
Yes.
I
think.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a little bit brisk here in Newcastle.
Yeah. A little cooler up there? Well, that's because, slowly but surely, there's a bit of a cool front coming down over the next few days, and you're like on the corner of it.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And I can feel it.
So what is going on up there besides wrestling dogies?
We have a high school track meet here today.
Okay. Well, perfect day. Is it windy?
No, it's fall.
Okay. Good. It's just okay. So that's a perfect day for an outdoor track meet.
Yep. It's jacket weather. Maybe some gloves and a hood. You're good. We're good to go.
Okay, but for the runners, it's perfect.
Oh, for the distance runners, they love it. Oh,
okay.
yeah. It's not hot. They can just cruise right along. I don't see anybody really suffering. People with blankets, and it's all good.
Okay.
We'll make it.
Now, this is just
Wyoming in the
one.
spring.
This is one of many events you have going on over the next few days, right?
Yes, I'm going to try to go to Worland tomorrow for a big soccer tournament. But
Okay.
we'll do this first, and then head home, and then hit the road again. and then probably stay home all next week because of the weather.
Yeah, and that's where you're at right now next week. They're going to finally start getting some of the wet that they've been denied over the course of the entire weekend there. So, yeah, get these events out of the way now through Saturday, and that's when the weather really starts to change up. So, is that all they're doing right now, though, is just track there?
Yeah, just a track meet, yeah. And this is kind of an unusual thing, was it's actually a high school track meet and a grade school track meet. So these 5th and 6th graders running around here, too. I'm like, okay.
But are the 5th and 6th graders up against the high schoolers?
No, they all don't race by themselves because the high schoolers don't want to be embarrassed.
Well, I'm about to say. Now, the thing with the 5th and 6th graders is they don't stop running.
Right, yeah. You guys, and it kind of gets drugs like, whoa, one more lap.
Even when they don't have to run, they keep running. Whereas when you get to our age, what do you mean I have to run? It's different.
Yeah, when do I stop? Well, here in Newcastle, we have the lower court track meet. There is 11 Wyoming schools involved in this, and including Midwest from the Toronto County area, and a few out-of-state teams from South Dakota. Cody has a big track meet today with 20 schools, and Kelly Walsh has a 5-team meet this morning over at the Harry Galdine Stadium. In girls high school soccer from yesterday, Cheyenne East beat Central 1-0. And on the boys' side, Central over East 3-0. The Kelly Walsh teams out of Casper are in Alabama in the Southern Coast Cup in Foley, Alabama. So the KW girls will play Norman, Oklahoma today. And then the Kelly Walsh boys will play Grissom, Alabama tonight. And it's March Madness with basketball, the men's NCAA tournament moving along. Now last night in the first 4 games in Dayton, Boise State from the Mountain West Conference lost to Colorado 60-53. There are 2 Mountain West Conference teams in action today. Colorado State is a 10 seed. They'll play Texas a 7 seed at 4:50 tonight in Charlotte, and Nevada is also a 10 seed, and they will play Dayton at 2:30 this afternoon in Salt Lake City. The rest of the games in Michigan State versus Mississippi State today. Duquesne versus BYU. Creighton will take on Akron. Arizona meets Long Beach State. North Carolina, number 1 seed, taking on Wagner. Illinois will be Morehead State. South Carolina plays Oregon. Kentucky plays Oakland, Michigan. Gonzaga tangles with McNeese State. Iowa State and South Dakota State is a matchup in today's first round. Tennessee versus St. Peter's. Texas Tech will take on North Carolina State. Kansas will play Stanford, and Drake University, Go Bulldogs, will take on Washington State in the late game of the first big day of the NCAA basketball tournament for the men. And that's in sports.
So how long will you be there today?
Probably maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. Gives you plenty of time to get back.
It takes about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Maybe 2:40.
During that time, do you tend to stop?
Yes.
Okay, where do you stop?
Well, sometimes right.
Okay, you'll stop and write. I got you. Okay, because right's a good place, sort of in between. Are you? I can hear the guy in the speaker behind you.
4x8 meter relay. Yeah, he's probably saying, "Frank, get off the football field."
Yeah,
Frank,
is that what you're doing? Okay, Frank. I'll let you get off the football field. Drive careful.
You too. Talk to you tomorrow.
That's right. Very interesting listening. Trying to talk to Frank, and then there's some guy on a loudspeaker. In which case, Frank should probably just turn and tell him to shut the hell up because I'm on the air here. But okay, anyway. So, yeah, he'll stop in Wright. They've got a couple of good convenience stores there. Or you can stop in Midwest. There's a pretty good convenience store there. It's not just a matter of stopping to get something to eat. Sometimes, 2-hour drive, nature calls. All right. Hey, coming up on some local business that we got to go through. And then after a local business update on your weather, forecast, news, all of that kind of stuff. It's Wake Up Wyoming.